Never did I imagine that a Tuesday could disrupt my tranquil routine. Yet life has a knack for throwing surprises your way when you least anticipate them. Remember to give the video a thumbs up, share your insights in the comments, and subscribe to keep up with our newest narratives. That Tuesday started off just like any other ordinary, predictable, the sort of day that had come to characterize my existence since Richard, my husband, passed away and our children left home. I'm Carol, a woman nurturing my little garden filled with memories and marigolds in a tranquil suburban cul-de-sac. The sun was performing its enchanting late-morning ballet, streaming through my kitchen window, creating tiny rainbows in the steam wafting from my second cup of coffee. I had long intended to confront the cluttered bookshelves in the den, a task I had sidestepped for nearly 6 months, and had finally steeled myself for the dusty endeavor. Suddenly, the doorbell chimed. Unanticipated guests seldom appeared. Perhaps it's a delivery, or Martha from next door stopping by to borrow some sugar or share the latest neighborhood gossip. A flicker of curiosity ignited within me as I wiped my hands on my apron and made my way to the door. As I gazed through the peephole, a young man stood on my porch, a book cradled under his arm. It took a moment to identify him. Tall and lanky, with that unmistakable tousle of sandy blonde hair that always seemed to defy order. The boy was Liam, the son of Tom and Sarah, who lived just across the street. He had certainly outgrown his boyhood, hadn't he, most likely 27 or 28 at this point. It had been a while since I last saw him after he went off to college. I opened the door, a smile blossoming. Liam. What an unexpected delight stepped right in. He offered a timid smile, one that creased the edges of his vivid blue eyes. Sarah's eyes. Hello, Mrs. Henderson. I trust I'm not interrupting you. Not in the slightest. My dear, I replied, I was just preparing to tackle a mountain of books. What brings you here? I took a step back, motioning for him to enter the hallway, where the familiar aroma of aged paper and lemon polish, the hallmark of my home, greeted him. Mom asked me to return this, he said, extending a well-loved copy of To Kill a Mockingbird, one that I frequently shared with others. She wrapped it up last week, but you know how Mom is. She loses focus. I let out a soft laugh. Sarah had a charming presence, yet concentration was not her strong suit. Indeed, she does. Thanks. Liam, care to step inside for a moment? I just brewed fresh coffee, or perhaps iced tea. It's getting warm out there. The words flowed effortlessly, a natural instinct of warmth, before I had completely processed them. He paused for a brief moment, just enough for me to wonder if he would decline. Coffee sounds wonderful, actually, if it's not too much trouble. It's no bother whatsoever, I reassured him, guiding him toward the kitchen. My kitchen boasts cheerful yellow walls, slightly cluttered with canisters and recipe books, and features a window above the sink that offers a view of my bird feeder, where a spirited blue jay was reigning supreme. Liam settled down, gently setting the Harper Lee classic on the checkered tablecloth with care. He appeared somewhat mismatched in my quaint, vintage kitchen, clad in a basic t-shirt and jeans, but there was also a certain comfort to his presence. How have you been? Liam, I inquired, as I filled a mug with coffee, the deep scent wafting through the room. The last I heard, you were in the city, doing something related to tech. He accepted the mug with a slight nod of acknowledgement. Absolutely, software development. It's intriguing. Occupies my time, he remarked, taking a sip. This coffee is exceptional, Mrs. Henderson. Please, dear, call me Carol. Mrs. Henderson makes me feel like I've been around forever, I said with a playful chuckle. The key to the coffee lies in adding a cinnamon stick to the grounds. A true smile blossomed on his face, easing the intensity of his serious demeanor. Carol. Understood. Cinnamon. Is it I'll have to remember that? His eyes wandered to the corkboard near the phone, adorned with snapshots of my children at various stages, and a picture of Richard and me from a distant beach getaway. This place has a pleasant atmosphere, cozy. It has the scent reminiscent of my grandmother's home. That little remark pulled at my emotions. The kitchen of my grandmother was a haven filled with warmth and delightful aromas. I appreciate it, Liam. What a delightful compliment. We lingered in a cozy quietude for a moment, the only sounds being the rhythmic ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway and the soft drone of a lawnmower in the distance. I observed his hands at that moment, gently holding the mug, long-fingered and skilled, with subtle ink stains on his right index finger, as if he had been engaged in the act of writing. So, what did you think of the book? I inquired, gesturing towards To Kill a Mockingbird, a familiar and uncontroversial subject. His demeanor became gentler. I found myself going back to certain sections after Mom finished. Years have passed. It's impactful, remains relevant. You see? Absolutely, I concurred. Atticus Finch has always been a figure I admire. Mine as well, he replied, his tone subdued. It prompts reflection on making the right choices, even in challenging times. He gazed at me then, his blue eyes unexpectedly piercing. There aren't many individuals like Atticus in the world anymore, are there? His question, strikingly straightforward, yet laced with a sense of sorrow, took me by surprise. It was not the sort of occurrence one would anticipate from the son of a neighbor delivering a book. It was reminiscent of a midnight conversation with cherished companions or a reflection during the sleepless moments just before daybreak. That was the initial indication that this conversation would delve deeper than the surface. The atmosphere in my bright kitchen thickened, imbued with an unarticulated tension. I leaned in, truly intrigued by his next words. The outcome took me by surprise. He let the words escape without expecting a reply. It was merely a musing shared with the air. As he traced the rim of his mug, a subtle frown appeared on his brow, deepening his contemplative expression. It seems that many are eager to pass judgment and voice their thoughts. Yet how many truly have the courage to take a stand to hear? It seems like a forgotten craft. I incline my head with deliberation. I understand your perspective. Liam, the world seems to buzz with an incessant clamour, and not always in a pleasant manner. I reflected on the unyielding news cycle and the ceaseless social media debates that I found myself unable to escape, even as an unwilling participant. Exactly. He said, a sense of relief washing over him that I grasped the concept. I'm in the tech field, and it's fundamentally about connection, bringing people together from all corners of the world. Yet there are moments when it feels like we've merely discovered new avenues to misinterpret one another, quicker and more intensely than before. He let out a brief, sardonic chuckle. Apologies. I didn't intend to delve into deep thoughts. No, there's no need to apologize. I replied, sincerely. It was invigorating. How frequently do I engage in discussions like this these days? My friends and I discuss gardens, grandchildren, and the usual aches and pains important topics. Indeed, but seldom do we engage in this deeper kind of exploration. That's an interesting perspective, and I must admit, it's somewhat unexpected coming from someone of your age, if I may say so. Text. I suppose I connect that sense of world weariness with those of us who are a bit older. He flashed a grin, youthful and playful this time. Perhaps I'm simply a timeless spirit. Perhaps it's the literature. Mom always said I had my nose in one since I could read, yours included. He pointed toward Mockingbird. This one. The Great Gatsby. Fahrenheit 451. They provoke deep reflection. They do, I whispered, my thoughts wandering to the neglected shelves in the den, a silent tribute to years spent exploring the depths of narratives. It's amusing that you bring up Fahrenheit 451. I considered revisiting it. It seems particularly significant at this moment. Wouldn't you agree? The concept that knowledge can be perilous, where individuals consciously relinquish their autonomy to think independently. His eyes sparkled with excitement. Indeed, it truly does. The manner in which Beatty discusses the reasons behind the burning of books is unsettling, as it reveals glimpses of similar occurrences in our world today. Individuals opting for effortless amusement instead of pursuits that push their boundaries. He leaned in, his previous timidity vanished, now filled with vibrant enthusiasm. I attempted to discuss it with a few colleagues, and they stared at me as if I were an alien. They were more invested in the newest superhero film or a trending video. A wave of familiarity washed over me, not due to frequent conversations about dystopian literature, but from the deep understanding of the solitude that comes with nurturing a passion that seems out of place among those nearby. I recognize that it can be challenging to encounter individuals who are willing to explore further, I said. Yeah, he replied, his gaze drifting to his mug, a hint of hesitation creeping back in. I appreciate the opportunity to share my thoughts. Liam, I said softly, it wasn't just a stream of thoughts. It was a conversation, and a very interesting one. I poured more coffee into his cup and mine. The afternoon sun had moved, stretching shadows longer across the floor. The blue jay had vanished, giving way to the lively chatter of sparrows. Share with me, what other thoughts or readings have captured your attention? The invitation was straightforward, yet it felt as though I was unlocking a door I hadn't known was shut. He paused briefly, a faint smile playing at the corners of his mouth. Ah, since you're curious. And just like that, the dialogue resumed, more effortlessly this time. We discussed literature, indeed, but it was the concepts they ignited, the emotions they stirred, the inquiries they prompted that captivated us. His words resonated with sincerity and profoundness that captivated my attention. He expressed the weight of his demanding role, sensing himself as a mere component in a vast system, alongside a subtle yearning to pursue something significant, even if the specifics eluded him. I paid attention, genuinely paying heed, in a manner I hadn't done in quite some time. It wasn't necessary to provide answers. Simply listening to his dreams and worries was enough. In his words, I sensed reflections of my younger self, that time of exploration that diminishes with the onset of routine and obligation. He inquired about Richard, my children, and what it was like to grow up in a different time. His curiosity was not merely courteous, it was heartfelt. I recounted memories long buried my youthful aspiration to become a journalist, which I postponed for the sake of motherhood. My hidden passion for classic black and white films, filled with witty dialogue and dazzling stars. So, you aspired to be a journalist? He inquired, deep in thought. What held you back from pursuing it later, once your children were older? The inquiry was straightforward, yet gentle. I took a moment to reflect, watching the serene sparrows outside. I guess that's just how it goes, I remarked with a weary breath. It guides you along a certain route, and at times you lose sight of the other paths you wish to discover, and then it seems as though the moment has passed. I believe it's never too late to discover a path. Carol, Liam said gently, his eyes unwavering. Perhaps simply in an alternate manner. His words, straightforward and sincere, struck me with an unforeseen intensity, not a mere cliché, but a conviction he was presenting. In that instant, gazing at this young man, my neighbor's son, whom I had only known in his childhood, I experienced a connection that was both unexpected and deeply significant. The surprise was subtle. It was a gentle understanding of the vast commonality that could flourish in unexpected settings, among unexpected individuals. It was the unexpected thrill of recognition, both in being noticed and in noticing another, maybe for the very first time. The afternoon lingered, the light transforming into a warm golden hue. The grandfather clock struck 3, its soft chime signaling a transition. Liam cast a surprised glance in its direction. Wow, is it already 3? I suppose it's time for you to return to your day. Text, I've occupied a considerable amount of your time. Not at all, Liam, I replied, and it was the most honest statement I had ever made. This has been an absolute delight. The volumes in the den lay neglected, overshadowed by a sense of buoyancy, an unforeseen bond of friendship. He rose to his feet, and I followed suit. For a brief instant, we lingered by the table, the traces of our coffee and dialogue hanging in the cozy atmosphere. A serene hush enveloped us, recognizing that something significant had transpired between us. I really appreciate the coffee, Carol, he said, his initial shyness giving way to genuine warmth, and for the engaging conversation. It's a rare occasion to engage in a conversation about Atticus Finch and dystopian futures with someone who truly understands. A smile graced my lips. The pleasure was all mine. Liam. It's reassuring to see that there are still individuals engaging with profound literature and contemplating significant ideas. He grasped To Kill a Mockingbird, pausing to contemplate it for a brief moment. You know, I have some books at my parents' place, old sci-fi, mostly, but the kind that really makes you ponder, like you mentioned. Perhaps I could invite them over at some point, if that sounds good to you. The invitation was laid back, yet seemed to signal a possibility, an opportunity for deeper discussions. To my astonishment, I wished he would. I would truly appreciate that. Liam, I'm constantly on the hunt for vintage literature, if that makes sense. He smiled broadly. That resonates completely with me. We strolled down the hallway. At the door, he hesitated, the afternoon light casting a glow on his face, accentuating the sincerity in his eyes. Honestly, Carol, he said, his voice dropping, I appreciate it. Lately, I've been sensing a certain disconnection. My job is adequate, covers my expenses, yet at times I find myself questioning its purpose. Our conversation today, it made a difference. It provided a sense of stability. His candidness resonated with me profoundly. A young man stood before me, wrestling with the same profound questions of existence that we all encounter, revealing his thoughts to someone who had been a stranger just an hour prior. That trust was a precious gift. Liam, I said gently, we all experience moments of feeling lost, regardless of how old we are. What truly matters is the pursuit of those moments of connection, those dialogues that anchor us. They're out there, sometimes in the most unexpected places. A smile crept across my face as I reflected on how this seemingly ordinary Tuesday had transformed into something extraordinary. He locked eyes with me, a silent acknowledgement shared in that moment. It lacked romance, yet it possessed something far more valuable, a convergence of intellects, a mutual acknowledgement of our shared humanity. That was the genuine astonishment, the exquisite revelation. The atmosphere seemed quieter, infused with a sense of optimism. I'll catch you later, Carol, he remarked, swinging the door open. You as well, Liam. Send my regards to your mom. He nodded, offered a brief wave, and then disappeared. Descending the porch steps and crossing the street, I observed him, a contemplative presence merging with the well-known surroundings, which now appeared enriched with fresh significance. As I closed the door, I leaned against it, the kitchen enveloped in silence except for the soft hum of the refrigerator and the faint sounds from the neighborhood beyond. The aroma of coffee hung in the air, intertwined with the elusive fragrance of camaraderie and exchanged ideas. In the kitchen, I gazed at the 2 empty mugs resting on the table, unremarkable items transformed into symbols of a meaningful moment. I hadn't delved into the books or the chores, Yet I found myself immersed in something far more profound, an unexpected connection with another individual. It awakened a long-hidden spark within me, an essence of vitality, inquisitiveness, and awe. I strolled to the window, my eyes wandering over the beauty of my garden. The marigolds radiated a vibrant orange under the setting sun. Richard cherished them, referring to them as little suns even when the skies were overcast. After he passed, they had brought sadness, but today they appeared vibrant, brimming with life. Liam's words resonated, emphasizing that the opportunity to explore a trail is never lost. My dream in journalism shifted from chasing headlines to embracing the small stories, focusing on the subtle dramas and connections that unfold each day, even in this cul-de-sac. The fluidity of our dialogue, transitioning from light banter to profound contemplation, served as a reminder that true connection requires no elaborate displays, just two individuals, a cup of coffee, and an openness to truly hear one another. The surprise lay not in the scandal, but in the awakening to how effortlessly we neglect the presence of others in our midst. Liam was more than just Tom and Sarah's son. He was a reflective soul with a deep and vibrant inner world, and perhaps, to him, I was more than just Mrs. Henderson, the widow living across the street. Perhaps he perceived something deeper. That evening, rather than turning on the TV, I reached for a notebook and pen. The ink glided effortlessly across the page. I didn't craft elaborate theories, just captured the essence of the afternoon, the warmth of the sunlight, the inviting aroma of cinnamon in my coffee, and the sincere gaze in Liam's eyes as he shared his thoughts on books, dreams, and the search for meaning. It was a satisfying experience to craft my thoughts, akin to discovering an uncharted trail, not retracing steps to a familiar aspiration, but forging a journey that is distinctly my own. The revelation was not merely about perceiving Liam in a new light, it was about gaining a fresh perspective on my own self. I was more than a wife, mother, or widow. I was Carol, open to new connections, ideas, and personal growth. Those few hours on a Tuesday stirred something within me, gently pulling me away from my usual routine, rekindling the delight of shared thoughts and mutual admiration. Several days later, I encountered Sarah at the grocery store. "Carol," she exclaimed, "Liam mentioned that he really enjoyed his conversation with you. He truly enjoyed your coffee and the time spent together, even mentioning how you discussed those profound books he appreciates." She radiated joy. It's heartening to witness his connections. He tends to keep to himself. You see, a smile crept across my face. He's an exceptional young man. Sarah, you and Tom truly excelled. I genuinely meant that. Liam embodied the essence of thoughtfulness and depth amidst the clamor of the world. I'm uncertain whether Liam will bring those science fiction books. It is of no consequence. The essence lies in the experience, the delightful surprise of that afternoon. It served as a reminder that existence, even in its more subdued passages, contains unexpected revelations, instances of deep connection and personal development. It astonished me, in the most positive sense, rousing me, compelling me to maintain an open heart and an open mind. I appreciate that deeply. The book he returned explored themes of justice and empathy, and in a subtle manner, our conversation mirrored that, focusing on the importance of perceiving one another clearly, fostering connections with respect and an open heart. That's a tale that deserves to be cherished.